Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, brought to you on a cool Monday. We didn't expect all this, but hey, here it is. You know, maybe you guys keep up with the weather better than I do. I just kind of live week to week, man, and obviously we had the doubleheader on Saturday, which enabled me to spend a little more time with the family. I wanted to stay a little longer on Sunday, but wanted to get out ahead of that weather and get home before things got rough. Hope that you guys didn't have to deal with too much. We had some down limbs here, but it got in and out of here pretty quick. There's some other people around our state and around our region that are dealing with some things a little more serious than a couple of down limbs, but our thoughts and prayers go out to you, but it's chilly. And for those of you that are going to be attending the Mississippi State game against Jackson State on Tuesday, it's been moved up due to the cold weather. 4 p.m. first pitch. I know you guys are excited about that. Hopefully, it's a game that won't last very long. I am hopeful that I can speak to Coach Omar today. They got in late last night. They played out in Houston. 5 o'clock game, didn't get home until after midnight. And so we're working through that. We'll have a preview of the game either way, but we really hope to get Coach just for a few minutes anyway to get a few comments about the game. And so we'll look forward to that. But, we got to look back over the weekend. And the weekend that was, as you guys know, Mississippi State remains a top 10 ranked baseball program, and there's a segment of our fans that really get on my nerves, and what I mean by that is, it's like we're always waiting to pounce. Like we need something. This segment of our fan base needs something to just latch on to and get really, 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 really negative about. And I just don't like that at all. I don't like it. But Bulldogs number 6 in a D1 baseball poll, number 7 in perfect game, and number 8 in Baseball America. So a consensus top 10 team, and it's amazing how so many people around college baseball like us better than some of our own fans do. You know, I remember even like the very first game of the year. People are already on social media. Well, that didn't look like a top 10 team to me. Well, what you're really saying is you don't know ball. And we'll tolerate that for a little while, but eventually we're going to have to respond. Okay? All right? So for that self-loathing segment of the fan base, just kind of hold your peace. I'm sorry you haven't had as much to gripe about on the baseball front. You've had plenty to gripe about in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. So let's maybe put a pin in it, and let's just kind of let things play out for a little bit. But, always good to get out to Arkansas. I mean, it's a tough place to play, as you guys know. But the crowds were not maybe as vocal as they normally are, which was interesting considering we had such great weather. But I never at any point felt like it was like an overwhelming environment. We've been there sometimes, and it almost feels like the crowd kind of wills them to victory, kind of like it happens here sometimes for us too. But, you know, we have not had a series win against those guys since 18, and that was here when Gary Henderson was the coach. The last Mississippi State baseball coach to lead us to a series win in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Ron Polk, who sat in the press box. They joked after he left and said the winningest baseball coach to ever sit in the Arkansas press box. But nevertheless, we'll spend a little time recapping the weekend for Mississippi State. We got a little football stuff we'll talk about as we open spring football practice tomorrow morning. And so we'll have full content up for you mid-morning, I guess. We'll work on all that. We'll have it up for you. And I have people that say, Steve, is it really time? Yeah, it's really time. It really is. It's really time to get going. And we'll look around the SEC and we'll kind of preview Jackson State. And, of course, a lot to talk about with this SEC weekend. And, again, at this point, you've learned a little bit. You haven't learned a lot. 1/10 of the SEC games have been played. So we can't make any maybe true determinations about anybody just yet, good, bad, or indifferent. A lot of games left to be played. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. And again, I had Bulldog Burger Company last week. I also had the grill last week. probably get into Harvey's one day this week, get some lunch, bring it to the bride. It's very conveniently located for us, And so I love the Eat With Us group. I have celebrated so many magical moments in my life in an Eat With Us group restaurant. And sometimes I bring the staff to Bulldog Burger Company. Sometimes we go to Harvey's, But Bulldog Burger Company is so great, right? It's such a great lunch option, and it's a great dinner option. Not everybody can pull off both, but they can. And it's because of the diversity of the menu. A lot of people are filling a burger. Maybe you're not. Have that BLT salad. It's the best salad I think I've eaten. Yeah, at least like the ones you get regularly, that it's available to you all the time. It's amazing. I like it grilled. You may like it fried. I'm not judging. You have your salad as you wish. We're not keeping score out here. I get mine with ranch dressing, though. I don't ever really want to change it up. I'm from South Mississippi. It's kind of part of the deal, right? But the thing that I love about Bulldog Burger Company is just the consistency. It really doesn't matter what I choose. I'm going to get a quality menu item that's going to satisfy me and add some nourishment to my body and some joy to my life. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. Find your own favorites. Again, if you're a newbie to Bulldog Burger Company, I would encourage you to just start with the Bulldog. You could never go wrong. Like Jacob Bain, it works for me. Every time we go there, he gets the Bulldog with fries. Every time. Every time. He's like, hey, I found what works with me. I stick with it. This works for me. And maybe the Bulldog Burger will stick with you and work with you and for you. That's up for you to decide. But I would encourage you to experiment just a little bit and live life on the wild side. Maybe grab some of those burgers you're quite fond of, but maybe not as familiar with. May change the course of your day, your week. Who knows? A good meal can change your world. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Richmond Flowood area. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. Okay, we're not going to be terribly in depth with this recap, okay? But we'll start with game 1, which is one that I really felt like we had a chance to win and kind of let it get away from us. And it's so interesting, too. Now, the Arkansas starting rotation is legit. And the bullpen's good, too, right? We know from firsthand experience, right? This starting rotation may be the best in the SEC. Maybe. But none of their guys got a win against us, right? So what does that tell you? Well, it became a bullpen game. And I think ultimately, yes, they have a better bullpen than us, and that proved to be the difference in the series. So, it starts simple enough, right? We knew that Arkansas was going to struggle to score, not just because that we have a great Friday and Saturday and a really good Sunday starter. We knew that we could match up in that respect, but we knew that just kind of based on coming in that they have not really lit it up offensively. And so you get to we have a chance early in this ball game. We get the first inning of the first game. We end up getting 3 guys on in the inning and don't score. Yeah, that can't happen, especially on the road, because you need to punch first. And Aiden Teal back in lineup, happy to see that. You get that single to center, but we decide to steal. And you know what? A lot of people were critical of the move, but it's really only because he got thrown out, right? And maybe we got to work on that a little bit too. Maybe we're not getting a big enough lead or big enough jump, but we have been thrown out probably more times than we should have over the course of the last couple of weeks. But you feel like maybe you gave him an out there. And I know what we're thinking. If we put the runner in motion and Reese hits one in the gap, we're going to score the run from first. I get it. Helfrich's a really good catcher from Arkansas. And so they throw us out, and then, of course, you get the routine fly ball to right. They drop that. But no matter how you slice it, the first 3 Bulldogs reach, and then we don't score. And then what happens? You get the bottom of 1, right? They get back-to-back singles to open this thing up. And really, there was nothing really salty about any of these. Like McPherson's ahead on both. And Ruiz, who's not great, very athletic guy, but he's not what I would call a great hitter. He does a good job here, singles it back up the middle. And then Camden Koziel, another left-handed bat. And we kind of elected to pass on him. I'm not saying that we would have beat Arkansas for him. That's not what I'm saying. But Fear gets up 0-2 here. And maybe we catch too much of the plate here. Maybe it's just a good job of hitting where he takes it the other way. But there's 2 guys on. And then we get a strikeout, and then there's a wild pitch. And then they get a ground ball to the right side, and they manufacture the run. So they get 2 guys on and get 1 guy home without the benefit of a hit. I mean, the last 3 guys go 1, 2, 3. But it's 1-0. And right here you're feeling like, are you kidding me? Like, we go out there and put the ball in play and get nothing from it. And then with the difference in the scoring difference in the first inning, there's a wild pitch, basically. Not much going for us in the second. And the game just kind of settled right here for a while. Bottom of third, they get a leadoff double. Ground out to short, that moves the runner to third. Ground out to second, the run scores. And then Helfrich lines out. So you get 1 hit, and then the next 3 guys are retired in order, and it's a 2-0 game. And you look up and you think, man, we've pitched this thing well. Offensively, we got to do more. We got to do more. We get a runner on in the 4th, and that's what's happening. Bottom of the 4th, they go 1, 2, 3. And again, I thought McPherson was great. Top of 5, Bulldogs get even here. And this is when I thought that, hey, we've been through the order now, and we've seen pretty much what you got. We're almost 2 times through. Everybody's kind of sharing secrets here. And it's the 8, 9 spots that get the rally started. Jacob Parker, who is, again, emerging as one of our better players as a freshman, certainly our best freshman, he gets an infield single. And the play wasn't close. And then Bryce Chance singles to the right side. Now you got 2 guys on. And we get the bunt down. I say the bunt down. It was more of a swing and bunt. We're just trying to get a ground ball to move the runners. And it works like a bunt. But now there's runners at second and third. And then there's Reese, right? Ace had some opportunities where we left some runners on. But in this situation here, he comes through. Run scores, and then Sully walks, and Stallman flies out to center field. That gets a run home. We're even, right? And so, again, you work your way through this. 3 singles in the inning and a walk. You got to score, right? Well, you do. You actually get 2. The game is now even, and it really felt like Arkansas had this feeling. They're like, are you kidding me? Right? We've done a pretty good job keeping this offense at bay, but it's a tie ball game. Okay, bottom of 5, they get the lead back. And what happens? Aloy, and this is a segment here I wanted to spend some time on. We get a 2-2 count here, and we have Aloy struck out, but we can't hold a foul tip. Then he gets a ball, becomes a full count, and then he tops one out to short, and it's got a lot of topspin on it, but we got to make that play. We don't. And guess what happens? He comes around to score. Man, we had him out twice. We talk about giving outs away. We gave an out away here. Well, then Robinette singles to center. Aloy goes around to third. And Aloy's not anything great. You'd look at him, you think he'd be a great SEC player. He's just kind of average. And then what do you know? Souza reaches on the fielder's choice, and the run scores. And then, again, same situation. First 2 guys get on. Reach on an error, single. The next 3 guys get out, but yet they get the run home. Now it's a 3-2 ball game. And again, if you make a defensive play there, either one of those, it's probably a scoreless inning. Top of 6, State has their opportunities here. Raymond with a 1-out single, and then Chance doubles to right. So now you got runners at second and third with 2 outs. Well, that's it for Gackle. Then they walk Teal to load the bases. And then Reese comes up and flies out to center. I mean, a base hit there, the Bulldogs probably got the lead, but we blew an opportunity there. And again, Bryce Chance always in the middle of stuff, man. Always. Maybe the deadliest non-hole hitter in the country. Bottom 6, and this pretty much kind of ended things in many respects for the pitching side of stuff. It's like we had pitched, and we tried to stretch a little bit here. And we get Helfrich to go down looking, and then Stewart on a full count gets a changeup up, and he drills that thing about 114 miles an hour to right. That's no exaggeration. And then we get back-to-back Ks. And so the game settles here. We get runners on here, in the 7th. Can't do anything with it. We bring in Gleason for McPherson. And I think what we've got to do, everybody talks about bullpen trouble. We just got to extend some guys. Like Gleason, we got to work him a little bit longer. That's just my opinion. I think guys like him, Maddox Webb, I don't think you can mix and match too much with those guys. I think you just simply have to let them ride a little bit. So Gleason comes in, and we get up a 2-out single, but that's it, right? And so, again, a hold for Gleason. Top of 8, not much going on for the Bulldogs. We do get a 1-out single, a 2-out single by Bryce Chance, of course. And then Teal singles to right field, and Reese comes up again with runners on and an opportunity to do something, and we don't get the runs on. And I'm not beating up Ace Reese. He's our superstar. But in moments like these, it's when we need him to shine the brightest. Our bottom of 8, nothing really going for them. They get a walk here and there, but, they're looking for an insurance run, can't get it. Top of 9 here, just when you think all is lost. 2 quick outs for the Bulldogs, and then Wires pinch hits for Garrick Fry and is hit by the pitch. It felt almost like the UCLA game, right? Except the other way around. Woodson gets ahead in the count 1-0, gets a fastball up and hits it. And like the left fielder kind of deked us a little bit, but really off the bat, you knew it was going. Those kind of things don't happen very often. A 2-out, 2-run home run on the road to tie the ball game at Baum Walker. It's a big moment. Sean James goes down swinging, and then the game is over. We bring in Maddox Miller, and again, I thought he was good here, but a fastball up to a guy, Pompey, who leads the SEC in strikeouts. He had 26 strikeouts entering the weekend and about 50 at-bats. This is just a bad finding the ball, and we lose 5-4. 5-4, and again, this episode is brought to you by Better Health. We're going to take some time and celebrate the ladies in our life. Ladies, we love you. Maybe we don't say it enough. We understand that you carry a lot of burdens on your shoulder, whether it be work, relationships, your families. There's just so many things that happen, man. There's so much that goes unseen that our women folk do for us. Their emotional well-being at times can be easily overlooked. We want to remind women how much they matter, and that therapy offers a space for them to take care of themselves in the way they deserve. My grandmother was the strongest woman I've ever known, and I can't begin to imagine just the true Southern grit that she had to possess. Being a stay-at-home mom and then grandmother, took her grandkids in to help raise us. She was a pastor's wife, and sometimes finances were tough to come by. And she always found a way to make it work, and I don't know where my life would be without her. So celebrate the women in your lives and encourage them. Maybe they need some time to talk, right? BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally, and it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of a 5-point scale for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com. Everybody talks about that last pitch. I go back to that foul tip. Now, you catch that ball, it's probably a different story. You go back to Ace Reese having a couple guys on with 2 outs. He gets a base knock in either one of those spots. It's a different story. But this is Friday night in the SEC. Bulldogs lose 5-4. And Maddox Miller tagged with the loss. Just kind of some tough luck there. But he's going to be a great pitcher for us. And I think it's going to be before the year is over. I don't think it's got to be this next year. But looking at your numbers here, Aiden Teal goes 3 for 4, has the productive out, and also a walk. It makes a difference having him in the order. It does. Because even with he's 3 for 4, the one that he didn't get was the one that moved those guys to second and third. Ace goes 1 for 4 with the one ribby, 0 for 4. Not a great weekend for Noah. Stallman goes 0 for 3. Garrick Fry goes 0 for 3. Ryder Woodson, of course, the 1 for 5, and that's the 2-run shot. Andrew Raymond goes 1 for 3. Jacob Parker 2 for 3. I think he's got to be your I think he needs to be your regular right fielder. Another platooning a little bit there, but he's more athletic than Vitas Valinkas. Hits the baseball better than James Nunley. Nunley's probably a little bit faster, but Jacob probably the all-around best option in right field. Bryce Chance goes 3 for 4 in the game. So 11 hits for the Dogs, and we don't win. And McPherson, no decision here for him. He goes 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. And, of course, the other run that was unearned is the one we talked about with Eloy. 8 strikeouts, no walks for McPherson. Those numbers are just getting ridiculous. He goes 104 pitches. Gleason works just the 1 inning, 2 strikeouts, the 1 hit. Again, I think maybe you stretch him a little bit. You brought Dane Burns in for 2/3 of an inning, and Braden Booth gets us out of the inning. And then Maddox Miller, of course, shows up there in the ninth. And, again, just has the ball, find the bat. And give Pompey some credit, too. But we pitched it well. We pitched it well enough to win. We just didn't win. Gabe Gackel with the no decision, and it's Cole Gibbler from Arkansas that gets the win there. So, again, this is a great rotation for Arkansas, but they're not stacking up wins in the rotation. Wins are wins, right? It's not going to change in the standings. But I think it kind of speaks to our bullpen that when you make it a bullpen game, the better bullpen won the series, if that makes sense to you. All right, game 2, and again, Ace Reese, really good game in this one. Really good game. And, dog doesn't shine on the same dog's rear end every day, as you guys know. But, again, it's just an interesting game because you felt like it's going to be a pitcher's battle. It proved to be, and your Thomas Valinkas ends up being the co-SEC pitcher of the week due to this effort. And we needed a guy to go out there and be a stopper for us. He was, and gets his first SEC win, and his record's now 4-0. So, again, not much going for either team the first couple of innings, so we'll jump ahead to top of third. Wires pops up to short. Maluski then strikes out swinging. So there's 2 outs. You think nothing's going to happen. No. It's Bryce Chance, again, starting a rally. And he works the walk there. And then Teal. Man, you talk about a teammate that can spoil pitches. Guys, it's ridiculous. So he gets in a 3-1 count. Right? So that's your first 4 pitches. Swinging strike for 5. And then he fouls off 4 straight pitches and then takes the walk. Man, you talk about a great at bat. That's it. And then what happens? Reese with an oppo taco to left, our first hit of the ball game. And so, you didn't have that on Friday, but here you are, you're getting it on Saturday. Hit the oppo taco grand slam in Biloxi. This is almost the same spot at Baum Walker. Gives State a 3-0 lead. And again, if you're Arkansas, you're like, are you kidding me? We haven't given up a hit? Well, this is what happens. 2-out walks are of the devil, man. It's in Leviticus. If it's not, it should be. 2-out walks are of the devil. And God was watching. So 3-0 Bulldogs, and it just we kind of settle in here. And again, you expected that. Somebody is going to make a big mistake in every pitcher's duel. And that proved to be the case, and give Ace Reese a lot of credit for making a play there. But again, it all starts with Bryce Chance working a count, getting on base, flipping the order, and then Aiden Teal giving you a great at-bat. And then that's when you play baseball the right way, you get rewarded. That's what happened in that situation there. All right, let's jump ahead here to top of 5. And again, Valinkas is just dealing. And here we go. Wire strikes out swinging. Maluski grounds out to third. Guys, the inning's over, right? No, it's not over, because guess what? Bryce Chance is up again. Starting rallies with nobody on and 2 out, it's Bryce Chance, a guy that so many of you said would not play this year. And again, it's a confession, you don't know ball. Bryce is never going to be a superstar. But, man, he's a spark plug for this team. And what do you know? Bryce singles it. It's an infield single, but, it's just really a guy making a good effort to keep a ball from kind of skirting out in the outfield grass. But on an 0-2 count, Bryce takes it the other way, and it's a single. And then Bryce Teal singles. Now we got runners at first and second with 2 outs, and it's Ace Reese. On Friday, he had opportunities with runners in scoring position with 2 outs, didn't come through. Well, here he is 2 times in a row coming through. Reese doubles to right center, and both runners score. It is now a 5-0 ball game. And State did a few more things there and kind of threatened. Never could get anybody home. But then Valinkas goes right back out there, gives up a 2-out single, but nothing good doing from there. In the top of the 6th, State gets Woodson a single through the right side. Vetus strikes out swinging. And then Wires grounds out the second. That advances the runners. And then Malewski just kind of slaps one to left there, allows a runner to score. I don't think he scores from second. So, again, that's having a productive out from Vetus there. And now it's a 6-0 ball game, and now you guys are feeling great, right? Well, then we come out here, we give up a leadoff walk, and then that's it. And I remember that last out, it was a nice chopper back to the mound, and you could see Valinkas was almost a little bit smirky as he grabbed it. All right, not much going on for State there, and Ace grounds into a double play there after pretty good at bat there, but not much doing there. So we get to the 7th, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Arkansas. And some of these counts went a little bit deeper, but we won, right? Top of 8, State threatens again. Stallman leads off with a single to right field, and then still second. Well, Woodson walks, and then Nunnally, great job here. It's a sacrifice situation. The bunt, he could not have rolled it out there any better. It was an incredible job. Well, that loads bases. Nobody out, bases loaded. Wires and grounds into a double play. But the run scores to make it 7-0. And then Garrick Fry pinch hits for Malewski, and not much going there. So we bring in Ben Davis for Tomas Valinkas. And immediately give up a triple. And for a minute there, it looked like Teal was going to run this ball down. And that kid runs into the wall. I mean, it's just crazy how hard he plays. So, again, you make a play right there. Who knows, right? And he gave every effort to make it. Just couldn't get it done. 9-hole hitter Souza singles through the left side. A run scores. And then Helfrich with 2 outs, doubles to left center. Off the bat, I thought that ball was gone. It wasn't. And ends up being 7-2. We get to the 9th. And again, nothing happens here in the 9th except for Bryce Chance walks to lead off the inning. And then we get a strike him out, throw him out situation there. We're just trying to get an extra run. You can never have enough runs. And bottom of 9, we get a ground out and Aloy with a 1-out single, and then Ben Davis strikes out the remaining 2 hitters to end the ball game. And again, a lot of people are like, Steve, why did we throw Ben Davis there? I think a lot of it goes back to Arlington. We had the big lead on Virginia Tech, and it's like, well, we'll run Jack Bowers out there. We'll run some of these freshmen out there. And it's like we couldn't get the game over. And so you end up playing longer than you need to. And I think it's like, hey, we got to make sure we get one at a minimum, and then it saves everybody else. And I asked Coach O'Connor in postgame about that, about the decision. And that's basically what he says is, Ben wasn't especially sharp today, but we felt like he could get us those 2 innings, and then we can have everybody else ready for Game 3. I just think they had a better reliever left in Game 3 with McIlvain. And we knew we'd see him at some point. But again, Aiden Teal back in the lineup. A couple walks and a hit. So 6 plate appearances for him. He's getting on half the time. Ace Reese 2 for 5. 5 ribeye steaks for him. You got a single from Stallman, 1 from Woodson. Nunnally, of course, with that great bunt. Malewski, of course, slaps that ball to left and drives in a run. And then Bryce Chance, 2 walks and a hit, and he scores 2 runs. And again, you begin to look at Bryce Chance and Aiden Teal as a tandem, right? Because it's basically like having 2 leadoff hitters without Bryce having the pressure of being the leadoff guy. You got him down there in the 9-hole, and now, trust me, he's going to be on everybody's scouting report now. But one of the reasons you put guys like him in the 9-hole is it's almost like giving you another leadoff hitter. And chances are he's going to get better pitches to hit in the 9-hole than he would be as a leadoff hitter, right? Leadoff hitters get your attention in the scouting report. I think Bryce is a guy that's just kind of been sneaking through the reeds out there. Even though he's a veteran in this league, I think a lot of people, they just kind of relax when you get to the bottom third of the order. And having Bryce Chance there, I think gives us a real advantage. I think Bryce is thriving in that spot. And then how many times have you seen it? Bryce gets on base and then Aiden gets on base too. And that sets a table for Ace Reese. So again, we go back to this whole thing. Not a single Arkansas pitcher, starter, got a win against us. And Hunter Dietz takes his 2nd loss of the year, and Tomas gets his 4th win. Working 7 innings of 2-hit baseball. 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. One of those walks I thought was a joke. But great effort from him. He goes 105 pitches. A lot of ground outs, too, because he throws that sinker. And Hunter Dietz, again, he is who we thought he was. And some people think that he is their best pro prospect off this roster. He goes 4 2/3, gives up 5 earned runs on 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks. But I thought we did a pretty good job against him. And again, we get separation, so they don't white flag it, but they're going to throw guys that are a little bit farther closer to the back of the bullpen. They do Tate McGuire, and again, he gets touched for a couple runs, and then Cooper Dawson comes in and pitches the ninth. But the game is decided at that point, right? The edge comes off for everybody. So then we get into game 3 here, and, back end of a doubleheader, and I was just thinking, hey, they have had to sit there and watch Thomas Valenkas just wear them out. And I was like, hey, this is better than having a game 3 on Sunday, because the mental psyche of a team like that, the frustration carries over. I don't care what anybody says. When you get shut down in game 1 of a doubleheader and you come out the first time through the order in game number 2, you start thinking, man, it's just not our day. And Mississippi State gave Arkansas plenty of reasons to feel that way early on. As you guys know, the first, again, both pitchers doing a great job. Duke doing a great job, strikes out one guy in the first, but he was around the plate, and I thought the breaking ball looked sharp. And strikes out the side there after the Helfrich walk. But it was a pitcher's duel early. We knew that it would be. And then top of second, with 1 out, Woodson walks, and then Sean James singles to right field. Runner holds at second. The Wire singles, and then the run scores. And then Beavis reaches on a fielder's choice, and we move the runners along. And then, guys, I know this is it's breaking news to you. I get it. There's 2 out and runners on. And who do you think comes up? What's Bryce Chance? And again, if my life was on the line and there's 2 outs and runners on in scoring position and we got to get a run home to save my life, I want Bryce Chance in the box. Because Bryce doesn't try to do too much. He just tries to find some green grass. What does he do? Again, and as I tweeted out, it's just beans being beans, man. Single to center field. Run scores. It's now 2-0. And then we talked about looking at Bryce and Teal as a tandem. Well, of course, monkey see, monkey do, right? Then Teal singles to left field. Another run is in. And now it's 3-0. And again, Ace, a chance here to kind of really tack on. We don't. And he strikes out on 3 pitches. And but it's 3-0. And you feel like, man, the way that this series has been pitched and the way that we have bullpen arms, this is a great advantage. The sad news is Bulldogs don't get another hit until the 8th inning. Give the Arkansas bullpen credit, but some of that's on us. Stone gets some 1-2-3 in the second, and we go 1-2-3 in the third. And then there's a little noise here, obviously, from Arkansas. Some craziness happens here. We get Pompey to strike out swinging, and then Souza, the 9-hole hitter, I thought who had a decent weekend against us. He singles to left, and we have Blake Bevis playing in left field. He overruns it, which turns it into basically a double. And then Ruiz doubles to right field, and runner goes to third. So now there's 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out, and you feel like they're going to score. Well, instead, we get Cozille to strike out looking. Huge, huge, huge sequence for Duke there. And then Helfrich strikes out swinging, but it's a wild pitch. And this is where I think Sean James hurts us a little bit, because I don't know that he's ready to do it on the weekends in the SEC. And maybe Maluski coming back full strength will be better for us. And maybe you don't want him catching both ends of a doubleheader. But, guys, we're out of the inning here, right? Instead of it being 3-0, we end up letting that run score and then a pass ball. It's 3-2. So Duke does his job, and we can't block it up, and then we let one pass. And so basically it should be 3-0 going to the fourth, but instead it's 3-2. It's true. And they had no juice at all at this point. And we kind of manufactured our own misery. All right, nothing doing for Arkansas in the fourth outside of a 2-out single. Top of the fifth, State, we get a little traffic on bases here, and we can't come through. Chance pops up. Teal then walks. Reese flies out to right. Then Sullivan's hit by the pitch. So we got runners at first and second with 2 outs, and Stallman hits one on the screws. And this is when I begin to kind of worry a little bit about this game, because Pompey goes up, and because if he doesn't make a play there, we're getting a run back. And the inning's still going. It was a great defensive play by him. Truly was. Bottom of 5, and they get even here, but man, it felt like they were going to do a little bit more. Pompey lines out to the shortstop, basically right at the ankles of Ryder Woodson. Souza, the 9-hole hitter, singles to center field and then steals second. Ruiz grounds out to second, runner takes third, and then Cozile walks after getting down on the count 0-2. And you think, okay, maybe we can get out of this thing by a run. Well, Helfrich then singles to left field, and the run scores to tie the game at 3. And we bring in Dane Burns, who hits Helfrich hits Stewart on 1 pitch. And then we bring in Maddox Webb, who gets Aloy on 3 pitches. So it's 3-3, and now you start thinking, okay, it's a 12-out fight to the finish for the series. And the Bulldogs go 1-2-3 in the 6th. Razorbacks also go 1-2-3 in the 6th. We get to the 7th inning. Bulldogs 1-2-3. In the 8th, bottom of 7 here. Again, 9-hole hitter, Souza walks, right? Charlie Foster comes in, we walk him, and then we pick him off. Then there's the single, we get a fly out, a line out, and so between Foster and Pitzer, we're able to get out of that without giving up any runs. So now, it's a 6-out fight to the finish. And that's the way you have to look at it. You can't begin to think about the totality of the game. You think, hey, this is all we have left. We have 6 outs, they have 6 outs, it's a tie ball game. That's how you have to coach it. Again, we have not had a hit since the 2nd inning. Reese strikes out looking. Sullivan then singles to right field. And you think, okay, we finally broken through here. They bring in McIlvain, and he gets out of the inning. So bottom of the 8th, and again, as I say all the time on this show and others, when you don't score the last 6-7 innings of a ball game, chances are you're not going to win. And that's what happened for Mississippi State. We scored 3 runs in the 2nd and don't score the rest of the game. The chances of you winning that game are pretty much slim and none. I don't make the rules. That's just how the game of baseball is played. When you don't score last 6-7 innings of a game, your chances of winning are minuscule. And this is a wild inning here. Leadoff walk. Then we get Brumbaugh comes in and try to bunt the runner across, and he can't. Ends up bunting with 2 strikes. And they end up stealing second anyway. And then News singles to center field, right field, run scores, 4-3. Kind of felt like this was over. That's how it felt in the stadium. And then News steals second. And then Robinette walks. And then Pompey singles to center field, run scores. Good weekend for Pompey, right? Walk-off winner on Friday night, makes the big defensive play to really prevent Mississippi State from expanding the lead or at least retaking a lead. And then he drives in a couple runs here, or drives in a run here to make it 5-3. Before this inning is over, it's 7-3, and we went through a handful of pitchers here. And again, I don't know that Ben Davis would have made a major difference here, but I would rather have had him than a quartet of pitchers in the 8th. Top of 9. Bulldogs need base runners. We get a couple, right? We get Vitus Valenka singles to center field and Wires walks. So now, the tying run is on deck. Mershawn Pence hits for Nunnally, strikes out swinging, and then Chance grounds out to the shortstop. And, the runners move up there. The tying run is still on deck, but then Teal can extend it for ace. We ground out to second. That's a ball game. That's the ball game. And listen, I don't look for more victories. Not in baseball. Different story altogether for me. And listen, they said, well, Steve, it's been almost 20 years. I don't care. If we're going to be the team that I think we're capable of being, that you guys want us to be, we got to make plays. And, again, I think this is a vulnerable Arkansas team offensively, but their pitching was better than our offense in Game 3, and that proved to be the difference. Game 1 was pretty much even back and forth, right? Somebody was going to make a play to win it, and somebody wasn't there. And that's how the game played out. Game 2, our offense got the better of their pitching staff. And in Game 3, their pitching staff got the better of our offense. And it's clear they learned from game to game. And, again, I go back to this whole thing. Throwing Ben Davis, in hindsight, looks like a mistake. I understand it intellectually, right? But I'd like to have been able to get a 7-0 game over. I don't know if I don't just send Parker Rhodes out there, right? A guy with great stuff. We needed Ben Davis in this ballgame. And you know what? If we had not thrown Ben in Game 2 and it ends up being a 7-5 win, then everybody's freaking out. Why in the world did we throw one of these young guys? I get it. You can't win, right? But that was really the difference in the ballgame. And really a lot of respects, is that their pitching got the better of us. And, again, you go back and look at the numbers here. We had 6 hits in the game. 6 hits in the game, and 1 for Teal, 1 for Sully, and that one came in the 8th. Sean James had 1. And then Vitas has 1, and that comes in the 9th inning. So we just didn't get things going offensively against their third starter. And, looking at his numbers and how great his splits were against lefty, you felt like, our righties are going to have to carry the weight a little bit here. Ethan McIlvain gets the win, Tyler Pitzer in the loss. So, again, it's so interesting to go back and look. There's all this talk about this Arkansas rotation. None of those guys got a win over State. But they won the series, and that's what matters most. But, again, I think when you look at the totality of the series and the complexion of every game, you see the bullpens decided the game, and their bullpen was better than ours. Simple as that. All right, it's time for our Close with Blair Player of the Day. Should be an obvious choice today, but it's really not. I mean, there's a couple of different good options here. But let me tell you a little more about Blair in case you've forgotten. Blair is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. His phone number, just between us girls here, 601-500-2344. 601-500-2344. Save that in your phone as Mortgage Guy. That way you'll have a mortgage guy. You may forget the name, but you won't forget the need, right? And so when you need mortgage advice or you need mortgage loan origination, you've already got that part of it handled. I'm saving you the guesswork and the research. I'm giving you a gentleman with 25 years of experience. His expertise and know-how is unsurpassed in the mortgage loan origination business. He's licensed to practice in multiple states. We've had several Boneyard listeners that have closed loans with Blair's and given us rave reviews. So whether you're looking for your first home, your next home, or your retirement home, the only name to know is Blair Chandler at closeatblair.com. And maybe ask about that game day condo. It may prove to be more affordable than you think. Close with Blair. Your player of the day, we got to go with Thomas Valenkas. What a great job. One of the better pitching performances that we have had at Arkansas in recent memory. And, of course, he is recognized today as the co-SEC Pitcher of the Week. Outstanding effort. Again, against a lineup that maybe doesn't scare you the way some other Arkansas lineups have. The roster construction there is a little bit different than you may expect. But no matter how they did things, he did things better. And when we signed him, we felt he'd be a true Friday night guy. He's proven to be our Saturday guy, and Ryan McPherson's certainly capable of handling the Friday night duties. So we've got a great 1-2 punch. Got to figure out some things in the bullpen. But when you leave with a 7-0 lead, you feel pretty good about putting a win on the schedule. So there you go. Your Close with Blair Player of the Day, Thomas Valenkas. All right. Time for today's top 10 list. By request. Brought to you by Calido Guitars, Calido Guitars.com. I have multiple items from them. They're all of superior quality. I got a guitar stand to start. I've got my old Ibanez on that one. I got a gig bag. I got my new Ibanez in that one. And I've just been very pleased with everything. And you will be too. And it makes me happy to know, too, that not only is it a great guitar shop, it's a Mississippi State-owned and operated guitar shop. I suspect Daniel and those guys probably had the games on the radio in the shop because they love the Bulldogs just like you and I do. They also love playing music when they get a chance to because they stay so busy setting up instruments for me and you and everybody else. As we shared recently, we had a review of a patron of Kalito Guitars and said, for 30 years he's always wanted to have this nylon string acoustic, and they set it up to the specifications that he had. That's the thing. When you buy guitars from guitar players, they know what we like, and they'll do it the way we want it to, because they want you to just pull it out and have it ready to go. They don't want you to spend the whole day setting up your guitar, because the first thing you want to do when you get a new toy is play with it. Yeah, and you owe it to yourself to invest in some new musical instruments, or some, maybe accessories. Maybe you need strings, or, a cable, or whatever. Anything that you need to be a better guitar player, you can find it at KalitoGuitars.com. They provide everything but the practice time. You got to make that yourself. Now, they're going to give you some incentive to do business with them. Now, if you stop by their expansive showroom in Lake Jackson, Texas, just south of Houston, you can use this promo code in person. You can use it over the phone, and you can use it online. And if you're like me, there are just certain things that you want in your guitar, and maybe it's best to call just so you can talk it through with them. And you may end up talking about your favorite Bulldog football, baseball, or basketball players during that conversation, right? Because Daniel will ask you, hey, where are you from? Oh, well, that's where so-and-so's from, too. And next thing you know, you're off and running, talking to another Bulldog about Bulldog sports in the middle of purchasing your dream guitar. Now, if you're a newbie and you just need a beginner guitar without breaking the bank, they can help you with that. If you need to kind of step up your game and get an intermediate guitar, or perhaps you're a professional musician, or at least you play a professional grade guitar, you can get that too. You can get a Joe Satt original, you can get a Steve Vai original, which I have and I love, complete with the monkey grip. I love it. I've wanted that guitar since I was 16 years of age, and now I have it, thanks to the fine folks at Kalito Guitars. Now, check them out at their website. That promo code that will serve you well is BSR. And let me tell you what it gets you. It's not just a typical promo code. Like a lot of times they give you a promo code, it's just like one thing. No, not with them. It goes to show you how eager they are to serve you. That promo code gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. And that doesn't matter if you're buying a $7,000 guitar or a $300 guitar. You're going to be entitled to that same level of savings. Also, free shipping. Then no sales tax unless you live in the state of Texas. You can do the math and you can begin to realize the amount of savings coming your way. And then, on top of that, they're going to make a 5% donation to the Bulldog Excellence Fund based on your purchase price. Everybody wins. You win, they win, Mississippi State wins, and when the Bulldogs win, we all win. That's Kalito Guitars. So Dave hits us up, and thanks for doing so, Dave. Dave says, hey, Steve, I'm a Motley fan too. However, I never really gave the self-titled album with John Corabi a chance. I've heard you talk about it extensively on the show that it's one of your favorite Motley albums. And Dave, you're right, it is. And one of the reasons why is I think the musicianship on this album was very mature. I think they evolved as a band. Many of you didn't give it a chance because Vince wasn't the singer on this album. John Corabi, a guy that I've met, spent time with, had dinner with, actually ran his merch table when he did a date with Brother Kane over in Huntsville. And super cool guy, and I got a chance to talk to him a little bit about this album, and I'll provide a little intel as we work through our list here. But Dave wants to know, what are my top 10 favorite songs off the Motley self-titled album? Well, Dave, I'm happy to help you. You came to the right place. I don't know that anybody else could give you this level of service. No promo code required, right? All right, number 10, and I wanted to start with a banger. Okay, and again, there's like 14 tracks on this album, and I like them all. I like some more than others. But I love the guitar work on Hammered, and I think that John Corabi's guitar playing allowed Mick a little more room to expand his horizons. I think the two-guitar thing really works for Motley on this album. Mick is a legend, obviously. Corabi, a great player in his own right. But I think, and the fact that Mick and John recorded some songs together that didn't make Mick's solo album, I hope one day we'll see him in the light of day, is pretty incredible. And Mick said years ago on that metal show about how well he and John got together and how he felt like John challenged him a little bit. I think it's a great thing, and I think it comes across in the music. But we're going to go with Hammered at number 10. Hammered. Number 9 is the lead track on the album. And it was really kind of a single that was released to somewhat embody the future of Motley Crue. That it wasn't going to be about image. It wasn't going to be about pyrotechnics and videos and all that kind of stuff. And I love all that aspect of Motley. But it's power to the music at number 9, power to the music. And I really believe on this album, the musicianship was better than any other Motley album. And Tommy Lee said the same in the documentary. He goes, man, I know a lot of people didn't accept that album, but man, that's the best music we ever created. I think there's some truth to that. Number 8, kind of an interesting title. But I love Corabi's vocal on it. I like the bass line on it. I like the fact that it is just one of those unashamedly unabashed rock songs called Smoke the Sky. Number 8, Smoke the Sky. Number 7, kind of a darker song. Like the musicians, the guitar riff on this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, Corabi's vocal, I just think there was a palette that Nikki Sixx could paint with Corabi's vocals that perhaps Vince didn't possess. And that's not to say I'm hating on Vince. I love Vince. But Corabi's just a different singer. He has a little more grit in his voice. So a lot of this stuff is, the tuning's a little different. But it's Uncle Jack. And this is a song really about abuse at its core. That's really what it's about. It's about a family member that had ill intent. And his name's Uncle Jack. Number 6, great song. They played it live for a while, and of course, when Vince returned to the band, they quit playing it. But it's misunderstood. Lyrically, I think it's great. It's one of John Corabi's greater contributions to the album. Of course, Nikki Sixx kind of polished everything up. Number 5, man, I absolutely love this one. I love it. And it's number 5, and you say, Steve, you love it so much, but it's 5. It's because I love the other ones ahead of it even more. I think it's a highlight on this, and I love the beginning. I love the tone, the guitar, and I love the way that Mick uses the pedal board here. It's Welcome to the Numb. And, of course, everybody was in recovery at this point, and Nikki Sixx has been now for several years. But that's kind of what it's about, kind of Welcome to the Numb. Number 4, again, kind of a recovery-related song, but it's called Living in the Know. Right? Of course, there's living in the now. Living in the know means to be educated, and that's really what this track is about. It's about kind of finding yourself and not just kind of leading an accidental life. Number 3, and it's a song, it's probably the only song on this album that most of you know, and it's a banger, and they actually remixed it and did kind of an industrial mix too that's on the kind of a collaboration album, Sonic Relics. I think you'll enjoy this one. It's Hooligan's Holiday, and it was really kind of the introduction to the new Motley Crue. Like when that video went out, everybody's like, man, Motley's a little harder with John Corabi. And as I've shared with you guys before, I was a Corabi fan back when he was with this great band called The Scream, and that CD is out of print, which I think is unfortunate. Every so often it'll pop up on iTunes, and then they'll lose your licensing or whatever. But I love that album. And I was on my way to a show in New Orleans, and I heard Man in the Moon come on WRNO, the Rock of New Orleans. The Rock of New Orleans. I immediately got off the exit and went to Tower Records, and I bought the CD. I still have it, and I love it. I absolutely love that album. And so when the word got out that Motley would hire John Corabi from The Scream, I was jacked because I was like, I love this album and I love the grit in John's voice, and I think he'll add a different element to Motley, and he did. But there were so many people, again, that never gave this album a chance, and I think they missed out on so much. Number 2, John and I had a chance to speak about this song, and it's Drift Away, and I told him, I said, this is just one of those songs that I just kind of get lost in. Like when I'm like maybe a little stressed or a little bit anxious, I can put this song on, and it just kind of matches my mood. And John said the record company originally didn't want to put that song on the album, and he goes, hey, if you're not going to use it, I'm going to keep it. I don't want this to be the property of Motley Crue. I wrote this song. I brought this to the band. So if you're not going to record it, I'm going to keep it, and I'll put it out there myself. And then eventually the record company said, yes, we will do it. And it's Drift Away. And I don't like the guitar solo on this from Mick is almost like something out of a gospel hymn almost. I mean, it's almost like cathedral-like. And the thing that I love about this, the lyrical content, I think, Nikki writes most of the music, But man, this one is just one of those that Karabi, I think, absolutely nailed. I think, and I'm going to read you a little bit of it just because I think it's important. And so it starts out, look inside the mirror, but I don't know who I see. Smoke another cigarette, a smile holds back the tears. These contradictions seem to be the story of my life. A simple man with memories of those long-lost golden days. I close my eyes and slowly drift away. It's great stuff, man. It is. Second verse, mistakes I've made remind me of the roads I shouldn't choose. It never comes that easy when you've got nothing left to lose. I can't see the answers. Tell me, why am I so blind? A tired man. I make the best of another lonely day. I close my eyes and slowly drift away. It's great, man. It is. And again, the lyrics sound a little downtrodden, but against the bed of that great track, it just kind of does something for me. But number one, and I tell people all the time, this is probably one of my top 5 Motley songs of all time, period. I was going to get a tattoo of Dana on our wedding day and caption it with this, and eventually maybe one day I will. Got to figure out where I can put it. But it's till death do us part. But it's not really a romantic song. It's really about kind of the love of oneself, like to find a way to love yourself. That's one of the keys in life in many respects, I believe. Not in a narcissistic way, which I know that label gets thrown around a lot. And it's awfully inappropriate. It's kind of a misnomer in many respects. But there is a line in here that is one of my favorite lyrics from anybody, not just Motley, but anybody. And I've shared this with you before. And at some point, I'll get these tattooed somewhere on my skin. But yeah, sometimes my words may cut too deep and I step on a toe or two. But I'm half dead and barely half alive, but I live by the truth. And when I think about all the things that I've gone through, the one thing that carried me was the truth, right? When you know the truth, even if you're not living the truth, you can find your way back to the truth. Because there's a lot of people out there that live in a false narrative, right? They create their own truth. I know my truth, and there is no relative truth. There is simply the truth. Now, everybody has a different experience. You know, I listened to a podcast here recently where a guy was talking about, a lot of people think your brain is a transmitter, but it's also probably an antenna. There's a collective think tank in many respects. And like one of the most amazing things is like they were sharing like some of like the 5-minute mile is a great example, right? People used to believe that was impossible until somebody did it. Well, there was no internet back then. It made the papers, but how many people really read the paper? A lot of people read the paper, but it wasn't like it is nowadays where we're glued to our phones. But what's incredible is shortly after somebody broke the threshold of the 5-minute mile, then all of a sudden like hundreds of people did it. And it's like once a human kind of figures out what's possible, there is this belief that they transmit that information out into the ethos. And I know that's a little bit deep and heavy for a sports podcast. But then once it's done, other people receive it, like, and they're on antenna. They receive that information. And it's like, I had read a thing too of similar circumstance that when they were working on, like, there was some vaccine. I told Roy yesterday I thought it was COVID, but I think it was actually farther back than that. That everybody was working on this vaccine, and everybody was keeping like their logs and all that kind of stuff. And this one guy said, why don't we test it with this? And they did, and they had some success. And then days later, other teams around the world that had no connection to this particular team all of a sudden said, hey, maybe we should try this. And then when they got together later and compared all the medical journals and the logs and stuff, it's like once the initial discovery was made, even though it wasn't made public, all these other teams just happened to stumble upon the same information. And I heard a guy say it. He said he's been in science his whole life. And he said initially he was an agnostic and then became an atheist. And he goes, I'm not ready to take the leap and say that maybe I believe in the Christianity version of God. But I do believe there is a supreme being, there is a God, and that all of us are connected, and that all living things are connected through some way. And I think that's one of those things too, where science, of course, makes people deal in facts rather than faith. But as people work through their career and they find these divine answers, to begin to recognize the fact that we are not just ants in an anthill in many respects. While they all live in a community and they all serve a queen, and they all have a function, we're not just all walking around aimlessly. And it's not the appearance of such. And I think that's one of those things you look at and you begin to kind of drill down for yourself. So I share that with you because I think it's important to understand we are all on the same planet. We're all having a different experience. And if you think about your own life, right? And I'll give you a great example. Like, if every time that you met me, I was rude to you, well, then your belief would be that I'm a rude person. But you may have just met me on a couple bad days. That may not be who I am. It just may be who I was that day. And what's interesting about that aspect of it is there are other people that know me really well. And they go, well, that surprises me, right? But their experience with me is completely different. And so every time that you are around a dog, it bits you, you'd stay away from dogs, right? Because in your experience, your life experience has taught you that dogs are dangerous. Well, if you're a person that has dogs and you love dogs and you train dogs and you let dogs live in your house, well, you feel like dogs are the greatest thing that ever happened. Your life experience is different. And so the truth of the matter is there are some people that are susceptible to dog bites and there are some people that don't like dogs and there are others that do. And so both of those things can both be true. It doesn't mean that dogs are bad. It just means your experience with them. But you can say the same thing for people, right? If every time that you're around a certain group of people that maybe believed a certain thing that you didn't believe, and every interaction you had with them was negative, well, you would want to be around those people. And you would label everybody that believed those same things in a negative light. You'd believe all those people shared the same ideology, and that's just not always true. The flip side of it is that if you're the kind of person that, hey, every time I'm around these people, they're very judgmental, and there's always this talk about, morality and things of that nature, and you felt like that you were attacked, well, then you're going to limit your time with those people, right? I'm not going to be around even longer than I have to be, right? And so all of those things can coexist, but it doesn't change the truth. Our perception is not always the truth. And it's funny too, like before I was in recovery, before I was even really in full-blown addiction, I used to always think, well, everybody in addiction is like somebody that lives on the streets and they're prostitutes or whatever, they're thieves and that kind of stuff. And there is some of that, right? There is. But the only difference truly between the soccer mom popping pain pills and the prostitutes on the streets, really how they pay for their dope and where they get it from. That's really the only difference. They both have the same existence. They're both dealing with the same problems. It's just on a different level. And I would say that the soccer mom living in the $1 million house with all the resources in the world is probably leading a more dangerous life. And you could say, well, Steve, how's that? Well, because they have more resources in which to hurt themselves. And people around them, right? Because when I went to rehab, a lot of my friends freaked out, and they goes, "Oh, you're not a drug addict. You use just like we do." Birds of a feather flock together. That's not a true adage that's ever been uttered in all of human history. And so that's the reality of life. When I went to church every Sunday and Sunday night and Wednesday, had the Jesus fish on the back of the minivan, it's like all my friends were similarly situated. When I was out there in the world, when I was a weed-smoking fornicator, in the words of Dave Chappelle, everybody that I ran with, right? Because it becomes a principle of reflection. Like you gravitate to the people that share your value system because none of us want to be judged. We want to feel like we're part of a tribe in some respects and that we're right. And everybody out there thinks that they're right. And the truth of the matter is every bit of that thinking is wrong, right? None of us have the corner of the market on goodness or right or good ideas. None of us. But some would try to convince you on social media they do. And we've laughed and joked about this. There are some people, as you guys know, that are just know-it-alls. I only know music a little bit, and I know Mississippi State sports. Those are really the only two things that I would consider myself of an expert in. And I love cowboy stuff. I do. I love it, and I love all that stuff from the Midwest and the Southwest and the 1800s and all those great stories from Arizona, New Mexico. I love all that stuff. I do. I'm not an expert, but I love it. I'm probably a bigger expert than most of you. But if I would get waxed, like if I ever went out there and tried to have a debate with those people that study it. I mean, just like somebody that would try to debate Mississippi State sports history with me. I may not get it all right, but I know a lot more than most. But it's amazing to me there's so many people on Facebook that know everything about everything. Everything. They were COVID experts. They became, Eastern European war experts about the war in Ukraine, right? Now all of a sudden they're experts on the Middle East. And so just because you watch a TikTok video doesn't mean you're educated, because there's a lot of things out there on TikTok and on social media that are completely false. And I heard this podcast recently where this lady was like researching some stuff. Like it was these textbooks that are kind of considered the bedrock of certain topics. And she began to do the actual research and found out that all 4 of these textbooks were flawed because the people that wrote them had an agenda when they wrote them. Because they wanted to further the cause, because there were a lot of people that were uneducated on the topic. And so all these people kind of got together and rewrote history, but when you go back and do the actual research, you can see those things were incorrect. But that's the problem, is we all begin to accept what we're presented without questioning it ourselves. We don't do our own research, we just accept it as fact. And the fact that so many opinions that are not rooted in fact are a thumb click away from being an educational tool for us, we get lazy. And sometimes it's like when I get out on the road, I get to think a lot. And I like to listen to not just music. I like to listen to podcasts that are informative, educational, and entertaining. And so I love being able to hear people talk about things that I don't know much about. I don't listen to any Mississippi State podcast. I don't, because what am I going to learn from them? And that's not being disrespectful to them, right? We have many of the same sources, right? We have access to a lot of the same information. So it just kind of feels like a regurgitation to me. I try to listen to things that are different for me so I can learn a little something. I'm still learning. I am still learning as we go. And I always want to be receptive to that, not always to be a transmitter, to be an antenna. So I share that with you because I think, number one, this Motley album is probably something you skipped on, but also to encourage you, never stop learning. A lot of people think we graduate and we're done. No, it's important to learn things about your chosen vocation, but also to expand your horizons a little bit. I think it makes you a better conversationalist too. I do. And I love being able to talk about it. I'm sure I bored Dana to death. Hey, I was listening to this, and I go fact check some of it, not all of it. The stuff that I think is unbelievable, I go fact check it. And then I'll be like, oh, really? That's true. And real quick, too, before we transition here, I want to share this with you guys, too, because I love to share music with you. I watched Becoming Led Zeppelin, and it is fabulous. It is great, but it's insufficient. And let me tell you why. And here's what I would say. The work on this thing is absolutely incredible. Like, they found this rare interview with John Bonham, who didn't do a lot of interviews. And they even played it for Jimmy and John Paul Jones and Robert Plant. And they got to kind of laugh and smile a little bit and hear his comments. But it stops at Led Zeppelin 2. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Really? I mean, if you're going to take on a project this big, the greatest rock and roll band in the history of the world, you've got to finish the deal, man. It's like, and there's not going to be any sequel. Like, when I was watching it, I'm like, there's 30 minutes left, and how in the world are they going to wrap this thing up? And I said, well, surely there's got to be a sequel. And they said, no, the workload was just too much. And listen, as great as it is, and it's great, you can't take on that project and not tell the full story of Led Zeppelin. You just can't. You can't. You can't. And that's the thing that I come back from. And as much as I learned from it, I thought, man, all it did was kind of whet the palate. I wanted to read about or hear about, the writing sessions for Led Zeppelin 4 and how Robert Plant put the lyrics together for Stairway to Heaven and how they got into Fool in the Rain and how they handled John Bonham's death. And it's like, I didn't get any of that stuff. And so I share that with you. It's worth your time and effort, but you have to kind of take it for what it is. It's only the first 2 albums. But man, it's phenomenal. It's in the words of Ben Howland, it is phenomenal. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. We are up to date now on our list too, but you can hit up Royce Amonte, my friend who I had lunch with yesterday, and that I gave him his annual salary then, which is to say I bought lunch. And but anyway, hit him up at Dogmatic67 on Twitter. That's DAWGMATIC 67. And you can find our great list on Spotify on that same handle. And I'm on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. So Dave, thanks for the suggestion. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. We love Campus Bookmart. And why? Because they got the stuff we want. It's as simple as that. We are simple creatures. We really are. We really don't need to be made to feel special. We love Mississippi State. When it's time to buy us a gift, buy us Mississippi State merchandise. And the best place to do that is Campus Bookmart, the best selection of Mississippi State merchandise in the known universe. A lot of people make the claim they're pretenders to the throne. Campus Bookmart is the best place to buy Mississippi State merch. Miss Kathy Brown does a great job outfitting that place with all the wares and merchandise and apparel that we're looking for. Whether you want that fashionable quarter zip, and maybe you could use it today with all this wind in the air. You headed to Stark Vegas tomorrow. Swing by Campus Bookmart and pick up an M/S hoodie. You'll be glad you did. It'll serve you well in the years ahead. It's going to be warm this weekend too. Maybe you need some new short sleeve stuff, right? It's that weird time of year, winter-wise. So I encourage you to frequent Campus Bookmart whenever you can, whether you need to detail out your fan cave or get some new apparel or some gifts for some other people. Don't complicate it. Just buy Mississippi State merchandise. Everybody wins. You win by being the thoughtful gift giver. Campus Bookmart, a Starkville business, wins. And certainly the recipient of that gift will feel like they've won. If you can't make it to town, or perhaps game day is a difficult shopping day for you, hit them up at campusbookmart.net, courtesy of Al Gore's Internet. Use promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That'll get you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. Okay, we got most of our series previews correct. Most. Georgia did win. Did you see the end of that game? Like the kid from Tennessee thinks he has hit a go-ahead home run in the ninth, and the guy catches it at the wall for Georgia to end the game. Like, and the kid from Tennessee, slams and spikes the bat down and points at the dugout, pounds his chest, and then the ball is caught. And it was billed to me that they robbed a home run. I don't know if it was going to make it out, but it was going to be close. He was a couple of feet in front of the wall, but what a great effort by the left fielder there. So Georgia wins it 2-1. Kentucky, I thought they would get a split. And I told you guys beginning of the year, Alabama was overrated. And I still stand by that. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a top 25 team. But they go to Lexington. And man, it's tough to play in Lexington in March. It is. And especially if you're from farther down south, as we know from experience, it's tough to go up there and play in March. Some would suggest Kentucky shouldn't host the first weekend in March. Nick Mingione would argue against that and say, hey, you make us play in Florida in late April, early May, right? So they have the advantage down there. So, it is what it is. But Kentucky with the sweep of Alabama. Florida sweeps South Carolina. And again, I think, this, it's a great thing for Paul Mainieri. He's retired, collecting $2 million a year and coaching a bad baseball team. Speaking of Paul Mainieri, his former team, LSU, goes to Vanderbilt and loses the series to the Commodores 2-1. I thought LSU would get it 2-1. Vandy gets it 2-1. Neither team pitched it well. Not starters, not bullpen. A lot of runs scored. I feel good about them coming here. Of course, the Bulldogs drop 2 out of 3 to Arkansas. Auburn goes to Missouri. And I don't care that it's Missouri. Anytime that you get big road wins in the SEC, it's huge. But everybody expected them to win that series. They sweep it 3-0. A&M goes to Oklahoma. I knew this was going to be a great series. It proved to be. Of course, you've got both coaching staffs yelling F-bombs at each other. That's when you know it's a great series, right? When the coaches get out of character. The Sooners take it 2-1. Ole Miss goes to Texas. Texas should have swept. They didn't, though, right? And there's not going to be an asterisk in the standings that says Texas should have won game 1. But nevertheless, Texas takes 2 games out of 3 from Ole Miss. So Ole Miss goes 1-3 on the week. No chirping in Kendall Rogers mentions from Ole Miss fans this week. Last week, Rick Cleveland, everybody else, Ole Miss deserves to be ranked. No, they didn't, and they proved it this week. And they're going to continue to prove it. Now, listen, Texas is a great team. Don't get me wrong. Texas is a great team, for sure. No doubt about it. Real quickly, looking at your Tuesday schedule, the Marshall, Kentucky game has been postponed due to weather. The Citadel will play at Georgia. Of course, the Citadel has a win over South Carolina under their belts already. Georgia riding high at number 7 in the country, 17-4. Charlotte, South Carolina, that's going to be a 3 p.m. Central first pitch. Charlotte, the 49ers are 13-6. Don't be surprised if the 49ers go in there and beat up on South Carolina midweek pitching. Gamecocks are 12-9. They'll be a losing team here in 2 weeks. Georgia Tech and Auburn. Man, what a great midweek home and home this has been. Kind of like State and Southern, right? Georgia Tech will visit Auburn. It'll be a top 5 matchup between the Yellow Jackets and the Tigers, as now both of those teams have moved ahead of Mississippi State. More on that later. But Georgia Tech 17-3, 4-2. Auburn 17-2, 3-0. This is going to boil down to who can get good pitching. Jackson State's 10-11. They'll visit Mississippi State. Hopefully we'll get Omar on the phone at some point. I don't know. We'll try. But either way, we'll have a preview over at genespage.com before the evening's done. Austin Peay, our friends, the Governors, will visit Ole Miss. I think this could be an interesting game, too. You know, if you're Ole Miss, too, and you get beat up, and they really got beat up the last couple days, you kind of have a little bit of worry about who you are. I just don't know if Austin Peay's got enough midweek pitching to make this game interesting. But Ole Miss now 16-5 and unranked, as they should be. Eastern Kentucky, the Cardinals will head to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Tennessee 14-6. And is Tennessee a top 25 team? I don't think so. We'll see. Stetson, as you guys know, Stetson split with Arkansas. They're 9-12 on the year. They go to Florida. I like Florida in the game at 18-3. And Florida's 18-3, and they're ranked 18th. A lot of that's because of the fact that kind of a poor non-conference schedule, and they dropped that series against High Point. Northern Colorado scheduled to beat Arkansas. Indiana at Vanderbilt. That could be dicey. Commodore's 13-8 right now, unranked. Texas State is at Texas A&M. Missouri will be at Kansas. That's probably a must-win game if you're Missouri. Like, if you want to even flirt at 500, you can't drop midweek games. And Kansas, obviously, last year put together a good year. 1-2 so far in the conference. Oklahoma will play Southeastern Louisiana on the road in Hammond. Ben Robichaux got 4 jacks. For the Lions, Tarleton State will be at Texas, and Alabama will be at South Alabama. Grambling at LSU. Grambling's probably licking their chops. LSU now 14-7, 1-2 overall. Taking a quick look at the standings, which mean little right now, but how about this? Probably the one thing you didn't know about the SEC, Kentucky has won 13 in a row. 13 in a row, and they're 3-0 and sitting at a 3-way tie for number 1 in the SEC. Auburn's 3-0 in the league, 17-2 overall. Tigers have won 10 in a row. Florida's 3-0, and they've won 5 straight since losing that series to High Point. Texas 2-1 in the league, of course. They gave the one away, their first loss to Texas, to Ole Miss. Oklahoma's 2-1 in the league, 17-3 overall. Georgia 2-1, 17-4. Arkansas 2-1, 14-6 overall. Vandy 2-1, 13-8. A&M 1-2 in the league, 16-3. Your Bulldogs 1-2 and 16-4. Ole Miss 1-2, 16-5. Tennessee 1-2, 14-6. LSU 1-2, 14-7 overall. They avoided getting swept by winning the Sunday game against Vanderbilt. Missouri is 15-5 overall, 0-3 in the Southeastern Conference. Alabama's 15-6, and of course we mentioned the Gamecocks 12-9. So again, not time to panic if you're most teams, but I think Alabama will find a way to get up around 500. But if you're Missouri and South Carolina, the reality of your fate is now afoot in front of you. Taking a quick look at the D1 baseball rankings, and then we'll close the show with a quick preview of Jackson State. Just because that's the right thing to do. We want to show respect for everybody. The top 25 D1 baseball, that's the one that we subscribe to. But, we'll start at the back end. UL Lafayette, number 25, Wake Forest, 24. They lost over the weekend, stayed in there. A&M is 23rd, and again, I think they're trying really hard to keep Tennessee and A&M in there. The Volunteers, 22nd. Oregon is 21. West Virginia, 20. Clemson is 19, Florida 18, Oregon State 17, Coastal Carolina 16, and of course Coastal gets some pitchers back. They could make some racket late. Kentucky 15th, of course SEC's longest winning streak right now. North Carolina's 14, USC is 13. Southern Miss drops out of the top 10 after losing a weekend series to Arkansas State. The Florida State Seminoles right there at 11. NC State at 10, Virginia. Brian O'Connor's former team, number 9 in the rankings. Oklahoma 8, Georgia 7. Your Bulldogs at number 6. Auburn 5, Arkansas 4, Georgia Tech 3, Texas 2, and UCLA remains number 1. So that's a look at your baseball weekend and your top 25. We'll spend our last segment talking about Jackson State. This final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, bar none, especially when you're bringing a large group to town, and you should. I don't think there's any question about that. You owe it to yourself to do some cool things in life, not just sit around watching Netflix and getting DoorDash. Matter of fact, that's probably the way you don't want to do life. Not extensively. There's some days you have to do that, but the other times you've got to get out and recreate. There's no better place in the Golden Triangle than the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Now, Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. When you do, their Facebook page will auto-populate, give you a chance to peruse all the amenities available to you and your guests. Plenty of parking. That's an underrated amenity. One less thing to worry about. The full-service kitchen, the wet bar, the back porch area, the fire pit. That'd be great tonight, wouldn't it? Sit around a fire. Be wonderful, right? Maybe the last gasp of winter we're having right now. But, it's 6 bedrooms, 2, soon to be 3 baths, just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. You can do your tailgating right there. Now, when you Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, you're going to have some booking options that pop up. That's Airbnb, VRBO. You can go that route if you want to. But if you want to save some money, I got a promo code for you. Book through the Evolve website. Promo code BSR10. That's beautiful Steve Robertson, the number 10, 10. They get you 10% off your stay. BSR10 gets you 10% off your stay. You could pay more, but why, right? I mean, there's just no sense in that. So be sure and check it out. We stayed there New Year's of 25, had a great time. We plan to do it again. As a matter of fact, my mom has mentioned that multiple times, that she'd love to be able to get everybody together and just have a chance to visit. You owe it to your mom and the people you love to schedule a trip today. Open 365 days a year. Be sure and check them out today. The Stark Vegas Clubhouse. All right, let's take a quick look at Jackson State baseball. We've had a pretty good streak going and getting these coaching interviews, but it was tough getting Omar last year, so we'll see. Tigers 10-11 overall, 1-2 in their conference, 3-6 in true road games, and we haven't had great midweek crowds. We're going to need one for Southern Miss. I don't know how great the midweek crowd will be against Jackson State, also with the weather and all, but it started out at Trustmark Park, and I'm glad they do this. Number one, you're looking for reasons to schedule events at Trustmark, but they had the MLB HBCU Power Series. The Tigers get 1 of 2. They lose to Prairie View, beat Alabama A&M, and get walked off against Alcorn State. Talked about that earlier in the year. They traveled to Ole Miss on February 18th and got mercy ruled 18-3. From there, they went to the Andre Dawson Classic down in Vero Beach, Florida, and they win 2 of 3 there. They take care of Texas Southern. They knock off Yale 6-5, then lose to Grambling 8-7. Midweek doubleheader against Tougaloo. They get both of those games, and then Alcorn State plays kind of a wild format here. They play Alcorn State on Friday, win 13-8, lose to Valley 14-8, and then get into an event with UNC Asheville. They lose 7-1 and win 6-5. They travel down to see the Privateers in New Orleans, lose 11-6, and then they go to Bellevue, Washington. Many of you know Bellevue, Washington's the birthplace or home of Kurt Cobain. But they win 2 out of 3 against Seattle. So you go on the road to kind of a chilly, unfamiliar territory. You take a big trip, and then you win the weekend. And they win 5-1, 13-12, and then lose 6-4 in the series finale. And that's not going to help you RPI-wise. But the reality of it is, hey, good for them to take the trip. They go down to Nichols, and Nichols has been a midweek terror. They beat LSU and Southern Miss, and of course they take care of Jackson State 12-2. And then SWAC play begins. This past weekend they played down at Texas Southern. They dropped the first 2 games of the series, 17-6, 15-9, and then Sunday turns into a church league softball game. They won it 17-12. 17-12. Looking inside the numbers here, I think that's always important. And I checked with Jackson State officials earlier today before we recorded the show, and they've still kind of guarded about who their starter is going to be and said they may not even know until we get to the ballpark. So we may not even have a preview tomorrow of their pitcher. We'll try and figure it out. Tyree Reed leads the Tigers, played in all 21 games, started all 21. He is a redshirt junior by way of Vallejo, California, a product of American Canyon High School, 6'3", 215-pounder, hitting 400. Got a home run and 16 RBIs to go with it, and they have absolutely run the bases pretty well. Pierre Cabral is a guy that's been around a little bit, hitting 373. He's got 3 tanks. Robert Tate Jr., a 21-game starter, hitting 351. He is a product of Chicago, Illinois. Has 4 home runs, which leads the team. They've got just 14 home runs, and 7 of those 14 home runs come between Cabral and Tate. 17 ribbies for him. Cabral leads the team with 21 RBI. Cabral also 7-7 in stolen bases, and Tate 5 of 6. So, among their top 3 hitters, you got 15 stolen bases. As a team, they have 33. So it's kind of a top-heavy lineup even for their league. Edwin Lemus Hudson Jr., hitting 311. He's got 12 starts and 17 appearances under his belt. And then Hideric Torres, 16 starts and 17 appearances, hitting 308. So among the regulars, they got a handful of guys hitting 300-plus. As a team, they hit 306. So they're going to try to put the ball in play. And, of course, they did not against Ole Miss, and I suspect that'll be the case with us. But they've allowed 17 home runs as a staff and hit 14 themselves. They are 33 of 40 in stolen base attempts. Now, we've had some teams come in here with some pretty gaudy numbers, and at times they've had some success. But I think a lot of this, too, it's the whole battery. It's not just the catcher. You got to be able to hold guys on and give your catcher a chance. And there's been some times we hadn't done that, to be quite honest with you. But looking at the pitching numbers here, they've got a handful of guys that have some starts. Cade Walker has 7 starts under his belt. Think about that, man. I mean, you start working through all this, it's kind of crazy to think that a guy already has 8 appearances and 7 starts, and he's worked 24 innings already. That's Cade Walker. Derek Arocha leads the staff with 26.1 innings pitched, but he's another one of those guys, too, that has kind of been a workhorse for him. He's also done some stuff out of the pen. 6 appearances, 3 starts. Also has a save to his credit. But as a staff, 274 batting average against. And some of that is the quality of competition they face. And of course, those Ole Miss numbers kind of skew the numbers a little bit. But by and large, it looks to be a team that should be very competitive in their league. The records and the schedule certainly show that. The ERA as a staff, though, is 8.43. 8.43. They've struck out 173. They've walked 139. And we dealt with a lot of that, too, over the years where you have frequent pitching changes and you have a lot of walks. So we have no clue at this point who they're going to start. If we find out, we'll give you all the information we can possibly get from them, and we'll share that with you as we go. We do know that Maddox Miller will be starting for Mississippi State, making his first college start. Probably a good time to do it, right? Being at home against a midweek opponent. And I think Maddox Miller is going to be a big-time pitcher for Mississippi State and before the year is out, not just in the years to come. So If you hadn't done so, go to DirtyNobleBook.com. You get signed copies of all my sports titles. That includes Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, Dog Pile, and The Dude, and the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls. Probably the book I get the most questions about, most messages about, for sure. And come join us over at True West Float Spa of Starkville. Floating has changed my life, to be quite honest with you. Nothing's been better for my anxiety. Dana's former trail runner. She'd love to be again. Don't tell her I called her a former trail runner, but with her running the business, she can't get out and run as much as she used to. But a lot of aches and pains, and had a lot of lower back trouble, and floating has helped her with that tremendously. Helped her with her insomnia too. It may work for you. It's worked for many others. Dial 662-268-7601 to get more information about floating, or to tell my wife how wonderful you think I am. I could always use more of that. I'm just kidding. Come join us over at genespage.com, the longest running, biggest, and most successful Mississippi State media company that has ever existed. We've got big things to come too, and hope that you'll be with us along the way. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.